Okay, so we're like live. We're doing this thing.
This is happening right now.
See the camera?
All right.
So
Hey,
I
I
figured
can-
we'd use the green screen back there to show what's ever on my screen here, but I can't get the screen record to work because that would have been really cool because then I could just put the screen record up there.
Yeah, for sure.
So that'll be for the next maybe when we get like a sponsor on the show, then the screen capture will work.
We're talking to you, sponsors.
We're actually talking to the legal department to get that contract set up.
It's very slow.
So a little bit about the show and what's going to be going on. I'm going to take the headphones off because
Okay.
I can't. It's hard to focus when you're like listening to yourself, I think.
I hear you.
So a little bit of the format of what we want to do here. So we are going to do this every week. Yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Every week.
so we're going to have one of these episodes coming out every week. The goal of this is it's an esports talk show, so it's obviously going to be college related. I'm the head coach here at Ottawa University. I always forget your title of the program.
I don't know.
Okay.
It changes every week. So next week I think it's janitor, so we'll see if I'm allowed on the show.
So basically we're in charge of the esports program here at Ottawa University. And so this broadcast is going to encompass a lot more than that, though. It's going to encompass pretty much all of collegiate esports, any major esports news. And then we're going to try to have on a variety of guests within the esports realm to discuss topics and things that are going on there. So kind of a general guide for how these shows are going to work is obviously in the beginning we'll just kind of talk about what's going on in our lives and update the people, and then we'll get into a little bit of the collegiate news and what's going on with the college realm of esports, maybe some professional news or just any major esports developments that I find.
Sounds great.
And then, so normally we'll try to have, I think, guests on or maybe, in person or online, but it's just going to be us sometimes. So I'll try to come up with discussion topics and things that are relevant in esports. And then we'll get into a little bit of a game or like some sort of, fun game or something to play with the guests or just mess with you.
That sounds fair.
And yeah, I think did I miss anything? I think that's kind of the guideline for what the show is going to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's been great, including banter from Adam and Connor. I think that's what I'm most excited about.
We think we're funny, so
right?
I don't know. So how you been? How's your week been? We haven't seen each other all week.
I know. It's been crazy. So this week has been pretty busy. We have, from a university standpoint, there's an international program that we have every weekend that IT has a ton of stuff to get ready for classroom.
International program?
So our executive MBA program. So we have a lot of international students who are here on visa, who go to school at our adult sites in Overland Park, in Wisconsin and Phoenix, and they take courses, and then it's tied to their visa program that they're on. So it's pretty exciting. We have, I think.
So what's your involvement in that?
So two involvement. So first and foremost, as IT director, we kind of make sure all the classroom technology is working and everything's working correctly from a technology standpoint, projectors, audio systems, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm actually taking classes. So I'm actually finishing my MBA right now.
Oh, gotcha.
So
you graduate when?
August of 2020. So I'm just hit the halfway point.
Nice.
So pretty exciting.
Look at you.
Yeah.
That's cool. No, it's really cool.
Yeah, I just finished my undergrad here last year. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go. It's convenient when you work at a school to get to take classes at the school.
Agreed.
I'm assuming that's going to be something I'm going to take advantage of in the future, the MBA program.
I definitely recommend it. So we have traditional MBA and then the executive one. I did the executive one because it's IT related. So. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm sure that sounds really cool.
And we don't have a MBA in esports yet, so
not yet. Well, we're working on it. No, that's
next
cool.
year.
So you, yeah, cool.
Yeah. So what's been going on with you, man? What's been happening?
Oh man, this week's been weird. I've had like a flip flop week because I worked all last weekend, and then this weekend I'm flying to Vegas to work and do that photo shoot. So then I took Monday and Tuesday off as like a weekend to go back and see friends and family and stuff. But then I got back, and now it's just been like nonstop. I mean, a lot of it's video editing and work like that. So you guys will see if you follow us on like our YouTube channel and my own personal YouTube channel. There's just a lot of content that we're working on right now. We've been obviously working with sponsors, trying to get all that stuff figured out. Apparel was a big one. And then I've got, so tomorrow we've got every year there's a fundraiser. There's a golf tournament fundraiser, I guess. And it's a really big deal for the athletic department. And our esports program is under the athletic department, so I get to go volunteer there tomorrow morning. I don't really play golf. I don't really know what to expect. They need me to help with stuff. I really hope that I don't have to know anything, because I've played golf. I play golf on average once a year, and it usually goes about I play once a year. So we'll see. But then I fly out to Vegas to go shoot a video. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've never been to Vegas. So
That's very exciting. I went to Vegas one time when I was 17 with my mom, so I don't think I really got the full experience.
That might be a little, yeah.
There's a few things I couldn't do, but the buffets were great. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might be a shorter list to say what you could do with your mom when you're 17.
That's probably right.
Cool. So yeah, in the collegiate esports world right now, it's pretty dead. Everyone is just kind of waiting for tournaments to be announced and just finishing up recruiting and rosters and stuff. I think we're still waiting to hear back if we're going to do any sort of conference-based tournaments next year. A lot of people are talking about that and trying to navigate that, so I think that'll be an interesting development if something comes out over the next couple of months. I found this article. It's from a few weeks ago, but this is our first show, so might as well talk on it. Mm-hmm. So the RSAA had their first meeting to discuss the vision of college League of Legends. So the RSAA, if you don't remember, and for those of you that don't know, what does it stand for? It's League of Legends, official collegiate oversee committee. Why am I blanking on the name? What does it stand for? Let's see here.
Right, something athletic.
You would think the article would say what it stands for, but it doesn't. Oh, there it is. Riot Scholastic Association of America. It sounds like...
What does it make me think of, the Scholastica that you would get when you're in grade school?
Where they would set up the big book fairs and stuff?
Yeah, I'm not sure Scholastic was the best idea for that.
That is a weird name. That's why I couldn't remember it.
Yeah.
So the Riot Scholastic Association of America held their first meeting, and it was a filmed board meeting for a couple of hours talking about what their vision was. And it's pretty long, and I'm not going to go into it too much. And they didn't really say too much. It was very much just hey, we want to make sure everyone's following the rules and kind of have a say in how this is organized and make sure everyone's on the same playing field was what I took from it. Yeah,
that's kind of what I've gathered too from seeing things. So I will say one thing that's really exciting about this is the folks that they have on their board of directors. They certainly have all the right people, right? So they have some of the bigger names within the collegiate esports seen from a administrative perspective and coaching perspective. So that's really exciting that they have the folks who are really down in the trenches to kind of get these things worked out.
Yeah, they did a good job recruiting, and I didn't. So this did date back a while. They announced it at kind of a funny time, right after the NCAA voting.
Yeah.
Was turned down. They announced this, but apparently this dates back to over a year and a half of them actually trying to put this together. So they have been working on this for a while. Yeah, I think we're all just waiting to see how this is actually going to play out. So and especially how this is going to pertain to institutions that are part of NACE, and how we're going to go forward with is every single publisher going to have their own board that we have to be a part of, and then we're also part of NACE to connect us with at what point does it stop? There needs to be some sort of conglomeration of all the different leagues and people trying to oversee things, and I don't know. I think ideally, and you can chime in at any point,
sure,
the publishers all come up with some sort of committee like this, like the RSAA, where the goal of it is just to decide how they want their esport title ran in the college level, and then a company like NACE is basically talks to them and then spreads. It's the only person that we really NACE is in charge of taking everything together and letting us know what's going on, and then they just have these boards to make sure that their games are being held collegiately how they should be.
Sure, yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I definitely want. Hopefully, we can all see that NACE will work together with the RSAA. Is it RSAA or the RSAA?
RSAA.
Okay, So NACE will work in conjunction with our SAA to have a better experience. And I think that portion about the developer, that's what makes esports so different from a legality and rights and copyright standpoint from other traditional sports. So, because we've talked about before, and other folks have said, there's no copyright on basketball. Like basketball is open source. Like anybody can get a ball and play basketball. Whereas there's rights associated with playing some of these games over time, and that seems to throw a pretty substantial wrinkle in this whole thing. And let's hope they get it figured out.
Yeah, because if they can have committees that take the rights that these publishers own and make it available to colleges to be able to use, like for example, the League of Legends logo or competing in these tournaments. Like if they make it, they're an easier direct path of communication and way to make sure that we're all operating legally within these publishers. Like that makes sense to me. That would be totally fine with me.
Yeah.
I think, I guess for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, when we refer to NACE, that's the National Association of Collegiate Esports. So right now they are pretty much the governing body over all of the major esports programs, or at least varsity esports programs in the country. There's about 150 members right now. That's all that means.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's an acronym that we use 300 times a day. Yeah. It's like
you get used to talking about it.
You just assume.
Okay, so other article, moving on, unless you have any final thoughts.
Oh, sounds great.
So there's an article that came out in EdTech magazine, which is a national magazine.
I'm actually familiar with them, so they do a lot of great articles about classroom technology and integration.
Well, get ready for this.
Yes.
How to start an esports program on your campus. Experts from HP and Midwest Esports answer FAQ for colleges that want to develop esports. So Midwest Esports is based locally around here. We work with them. I know a couple of the guys out there. So that's pretty cool that they actually went to them to write an article about starting an esports program.
That's very cool.
I'm not going to get in the article too much because there's not a ton of information and I don't think there's much value, but it was at least cool that that pops up and it's a big publisher or whatever. So briefly to hit on, so they talk about the first thing is which esports games should my college choose, which I think is a bad way to lead into this article. Like that's the last thing on your mind when you're starting an esports program. You have a handful to pick from, you see who you recruit for, you go for it. Like it's a pretty simple answer there. The next one is what are college esports leagues? And then they talk about TESPA, Collegiate League of Legends, and Collegiate Star League. They don't mention NACE, which is funny.
Yeah, and that in of itself is such a big problem. Just there's so much confusion about how these leagues work together and work separately, and some games are in both. It's certainly confusing. So that's a tough topic to tackle.
Yeah, that's a whole episode on its own about
Agreed.
Collegiate tournaments and. I think it was interesting, that video you sent me, and I don't remember where it was from, where it had Michael Brooks, who runs NACE, and then I forget the guy's name, but the guy that runs Collegiate Star League, and they were both talking on the same panel. So it all seems like very much fun. Like while they're competitors, sort of, they all seem to take on their own role. Like it doesn't seem like there's too much bad blood between all of them. None of them are like, hey, compete in our tournament, but you can't compete in these or whatever. It's just the main annoyance is that tournaments are announced last minute and you never know which tournaments you should be going into, and each of them run different titles, and so it just creates like from an administrative standpoint, it's just kind of a headache.
Yeah, exactly.
So then the article goes on to say, what do I need for an esports facility? What about networking for college esports, and what will an esports facility cost? So those are a little more relevant. It doesn't talk about staffing or like really operation costs or like anything that like people are actually probably wondering about. But,
yes.
And also, like I don't know why they didn't just talk to schools that already had esports programs.
Yeah, I'm sure then the what equipment and networking do you need? I'm sure the answer is buy these HP products, and we.
Yeah. I mean, everything's an ad, right?
Oh yeah. At the end of the day.
Yeah, I didn't mean to trash this article. I didn't open it meaning to do that, but I guess whatever.
No,
but it's
I
just
think
cool that they're recognizing Midwest is all I was getting.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because articles like these are how a lot of colleges, universities, junior colleges, this is how they really get started, because they know nothing about the environment, the culture, anything around it. They know athletics, and they know club activities for students, and this is really esports, something that lives in between. You know, I'm very happy that here at Ottawa that we are underneath the athletic program, because I think that gives us more relevancy and legitimacy to our program, right? So, but not everyone's willing to go to that point because of probably political reasons within their institution. So this is probably a good start for those folks who they still think that their hardest question to field with this is why are we paying money for kids to play Mario Kart, right? They have no idea what's involved.
Yeah,
in
I guess the target audience of this article probably is IT people that are in their 40s, 50s that maybe understand, and they're just like, hey, let's see what this is. So that's fine. I understand that. So yeah, that's about all that's going on in new news in the collegiate esports world. I did want to talk a little bit about kind of hitting off of those articles. I was curious to take a couple minutes to learn from your perspective, now that you've been a part of this esports program and seeing it kind of come together. Because you don't have an esports background.
That's correct.
Those of you who are listening.
Yes, that's right.
So you have an IT background. Walk me through initially your first conversations with esports and how you got started in it from the college aspect.
Sure. So the first conversation that I had here was that we had some students put in a help desk request that there was a problem with the computers in the computer lab because they couldn't play the esports games in the evening when they had tournaments. And so I just wanted to find out more about what was going on. And that's where I met Dan. Just happened to wander one day, and he was practicing with some other folks, and got to kind of chatting with him about everything that's involved with that.
Dan is our League of Legends captain for next year.
Yes, Dan Kopic. Yeah. So, and just kind of became friends with Dan, and would speak to him in the hallway, and he was actually a work study for IT that year too. And actually, to be truthful, before I even knew that he played League of Legends, he talked about playing Smash Brothers.
So that's what got your...
Yeah, so and that's what, because I'm old, so and I was like, oh, I know Smash Brothers, and I have kids, so I have twin 8-year-old boys who play the Switch constantly, so we play a lot of Mario Kart 8 and Smash at our house, so and that kind of instantly resonated with me. So before this job, I was tech director for a K through 12 school about 25 miles south of here in Garnett, where I live. And so at that point in time, I was trying to get in the high school space some basic esports stuff, just to kind of have something else for the kids to do, because it's a small town. There's not much to do. It was really hard to kind of get folks organized. It's kind of athletic centric, that kind of thing. So that was my first ever experience. But in terms of experience here, with NIU, was definitely that the conversation with Dan. From there, we had some people. Our chancellor, Kevin Eichner, had some conversations with Ken Hirsch and some other people around the esports scene, and they kind of had to. They explained to him kind of how this whole process works and kind of how big this is really getting. And it's funny because I've had conversations with various C-level folks here at the university and other spots. Nobody really gets the esports idea until they really see a broadcast. So what I found was pretty interesting is once they see the broadcast, and specifically the broadcast numbers of how many eyeballs are on this project, that's when people really they get excited about it, and that's when they see some really tangible benefits for existing students, because that was how this was originally proposed for here. And then it was like, oh gee whiz, look at all these new students that we could bring in to be a part of this program and to kind of expand the community.
I mean, that makes sense, because you're talking higher education, you're talking a bunch of book nerds and people that on paper just like looking at things. So when you see numbers and the double, triple digit growth every year and whatnot, that gets everyone excited. Yeah,
there's still a substantial stigma, unfortunately, of a certain generation of folks. So I've always been kind of a gamer myself. I've always enjoyed playing games. I did competitive gaming. I'm ashamed to say it's back in the mid '90s. So, hey,
I was born then.
I was 10 then. So during that time, there was a lot of. It wasn't esports as we see it today, right? But it was Donkey Kong Country and who can get the highest score, who can complete, Sonic 3
the
first
the
level.
Original Doom tournaments.
You know,
Didn't he give away a Ferrari? Do you remember this tournament?
Oh yeah.
Where like the
That's a big
developer
deal.
gave away his Ferrari in the Giant Doom tournament.
Yes. Yeah. That stuff that's awesome, and that's really how this whole thing kind of starts, and that's just super cool, and that's the stuff that just grows legend by every year, and in fact, you know, it was Ferrari or something. It was probably like a Fiat, but at this point, like the legend grows to where it's.
I was gonna Google Doom.
And that was John Carmack, right? Was a developer for Doom.
Dennis Fong.
Oh, gotcha. How interesting.
I don't know. I was wondering if they did that, if like the guy that won it did a follow up like 20 years later after winning Dennis Fong's Ferrari.
There's been a lot of spin-offs on the Doom franchise. That dude's probably got a couple Ferraris by now.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So actually, this weekend going to Vegas, I'm going to see Dan. And he's I believe the #1 ranked Smash player in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm going to be in Vegas, he is going to a tournament against the #1 Smash player in Vegas. So we're gonna record that and see how that goes.
Very cool.
So hopefully Midwest can hold it up there.
And that's something that I think would be really cool to get into. Nintendo's just starting to kind of get into the whole esports scene. I mean, they're always late to everything, right? So, but it's kind of like Microsoft. Like they do it after everybody else, but they kind of figure out a way to do it right.
Yeah, because I mean, like the Switch is a good example of that, or like even the Wii, and like the Switch came out and people weren't like, it was like kind of cool, but not really, and there wasn't a bunch of games. But now I'm pretty sure it's the #1 selling console.
I believe it is. I think that's right.
Which is, I mean, yeah, it's like a turtle and hare story there.
Right. So yeah, so that's definitely something that, I mean, I think that market's starting to get there. You know, I think with Microsoft and Sony, they seem to be kind of more focused on the next generation in terms of game streaming and Shadow and those kind of techs, right? In terms of all that stuff working together, but Nintendo seems to be at least starting to get in the esports realm, which I think would be great. They have a lot of intellectual properties that could really do well in that, I think.
Yeah, they're very visually appealing to. Yeah, like the main thing that holds back, but also is really cool about Smash Brothers is that they're live events. Like you don't really do them online, but it makes for really cool live events and brings people together, which is the other goal of esports. So
yeah, I think it's really neat that they still have like GameCube Smash tournaments like that.
Yeah.
That's still pretty popular. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, I did an N64 tournament 2 years ago. Which
awesome.
It's really cool that they still do that stuff.
That's awesome.
I feel like I derailed the conversation there a little bit. So you find out about esports, and obviously the school is pretty on board and whatnot. What surprised you as we began? So I got hired back in February, and we started rolling with this program. Is there any main things that stuck out to you that was really surprising as we started rolling with this?
So I think I was surprised about what was the expected level of growth and what we're seeing in terms of growth, in terms of just students who will attend here. I kind of thought that we would grow a little slower just because being in the Midwest and being a little behind things sometimes. But there's not. There's lots of people who are really excited about this, about the opportunity here. And when I say people, I mean students, folks who don't go to school here now who want to. And that's certainly a credit to you for the good job recruiting that you've done, man.
Well, thank you.
And then just the level of excitement, and we've just scratched the surface, and that's what's pretty cool. The other part of this is when we start talking about the auditorium that we're going to hopefully have the esports arena in when that all gets finished here pretty soon. When we started having that discussion, I didn't realize really all that was involved with that from a technology perspective. So for all intents and purposes, we're creating a television studio.
Yeah.
Inside of that area. It's just going to be formatted and things be pointed a little bit differently than what they would in a traditional television studio with a 200-person live studio audience, right? Or the possibility of
it's very much like a set for, I don't know, Ellen or Maury or
right,
the
Sports Center, or College Game Day, right, yeah.
Which is really cool, and not, I mean, credit to our university and university that are doing that, because not all, I mean, we're talking about our specific arena. Most esports arenas are not set up that way.
Yeah.
But
very true.
But yeah, I think it's the right way to do it, to where you have a stage where you can compete on and spectator seats, and then everything set up as a broadcasting studio. It's just going to make for great content. And yeah, I think that's also the most exciting part for me too, is to see
Sure.
how that come together.
Sure. Yeah. And just the amount of technology in there, and then the amount of curriculum that we can get out of this for students to learn and be a part of this is really cool.
Otherwise, this was our first episode. This was really just to get a glimpse into the show and to get talking a little bit and get the conversation started about esports. Thanks for your time, Adam. I know you got to get going. This should be a weekly show. We'll take some time to do this every week, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and learn a lot about what's going on in the space.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody for watching. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Have a great week.